Behind the Drapes podcast. I'm your host, Expo Rich, and I'm here with Doug Emslie of Cuil Investments.
Yeah.
And he's the principal. And one of the things that is really interesting about Cuil is that it has multiple investments within the trade show industry. So I know that you have quite a past here in the industry with us, throughout SISO, throughout other organizations within.
Yeah.
You've done many things here. And one of the formats of the podcast that I like to talk to people about, where they come from in their journey throughout the industry.
Yeah.
So with that, Doug, how did you get into the industry originally?
Well, I'm very old, so I got in 32 years ago, and I've got a background in finance, and it was really through doing M&A. And I had a friend who was in the trade show industry, a company called Blenheim, and Blenheim was the biggest independent show organizer in the world, based out of the UK. It was a listed company on the London Stock Exchange. And I went in there to work on M&A. And long story short, after about 5 years, we got taken over by what was UBM.
Yeah.
And I stayed with UBM for 18 months as the businesses were integrated. And actually, it's really interesting when you do a lot of M&A, you tend to be the buyer.
Right.
But actually, it's really interesting when actually you are bought, and you experience what it's like on the other side.
Trying to integrate back into their systems.
Yeah, and also seeing how things change, how friends, don't fit in or their jobs go, and seeing how that whole sort of human process is managed.
Yeah.
So I did that for 18 months, and that was a really interesting experience. And then the former chairman of Blenheim, a guy called Neville Book, approached me and said, "Listen, would you like to join me and start a new business?" And I said that would be great. The idea was to do something smaller, something that was going to be fun. So we, started off with $50,000. We then sort of identified a business called Label Expo, which was a big show, big show in Europe, big show in the US. We bought that for $5 million. So we raised the capital to buy that. And then basically over a 25-year period, we built the business up. About 2/3 of the growth of the business came organically, growing what we had, launching. And the other third was like doing M&A. So that was really exciting. And then we ended up with a business that after 25 years, we had 160 shows in 19 countries, and I had 750 people.
That'll keep you busy.
It certainly did. I mean, I spent 2/3 of my time on the road because although we were headquartered in the UK, we had no business in the UK.
Right.
Half of the business was in the US, and then the rest of it was, in terms of the big bits, were Dubai and then China.
Right.
So I spent my time just flying around, going to events, seeing the teams, and then coming out of the pandemic, I thought it was probably going to take us a couple of years to recover.
Right.
And then, totally unexpectedly, Informa came along and said, "Listen, we want to buy you. We think actually the businesses would work well together."
Right.
We had a series of negotiations for about 4 days, and we agreed a price of $1 billion. And what was really innovative, obviously people have experiences of working with private equity, some good, some bad. But I worked with a firm called Charterhouse, European firm, and they were very entrepreneurial. They said, "Listen, the whole thesis here is that we're going to ride the recovery, and the business is going to recover over the next couple of years. Informa is a lot bigger, and actually it is a public company, therefore it's liquid, and therefore we'll take 50% in stock." And that ended up to be a fantastic bet. The first year, the stock was up 30%.
Sure.
So I mean that was really the Tarsus story, and then coming out of that, I was sort of talking to a lot of entrepreneurs, both within the industry and outside of the industry, about their experiences. People who had built businesses, sold businesses multiple times, and I was just trying to get a feel and get advice. I had an idea of what I wanted to do, but just talking to different people, and one of the sort of probably two pieces of advice I still remember were, one of my friends who had sold a business said, "You've got to be really, really disciplined about doing nothing."
Right.
And I'm very bad at that, so
Right.
I totally failed. And the second one was, well, it's important to take time out, but actually not too much time.
Yeah.
And that's really sort of what I decided to do. Was I decided to start up my own investment firm that I wanted basically to have one theme.
Okay.
And the theme was basically to support entrepreneurs. And that didn't matter whether that was early stage, like someone trying to do a launch,
right,
or, a bigger business where, the entrepreneur was, wanting just some help. And 18 months on now, I've done 9 investments. And in terms of, I've got 4 of those that are sort of what I would call venture, very early stage events.
Okay.
I've got 2 very larger ones in private equity. And then I've got a couple of businesses really in the middle of that. And they're all different, but the overriding common theme is they're all run by entrepreneurs.
Okay.
And that's what I enjoy doing. I've got no desire whatsoever to work for a corporate.
Right.
And just sit there and not be close to shows. I want to be involved in the industry, but I don't want to be in a business where I turn up once a month for a board meeting.
Right.
And that I'm enjoying having multiple investments, and also just strategically, I only want to be investing my money in 2 places.
Okay.
That's in the US. It's the biggest trade show market in the world. It's a market I know well. I've been operational here for 30 odd years.
Oh yeah.
And the Middle East, and the Middle East, we ran the Dubai Air Show, biggest event in the region.
Unbelievable event.
Yeah. So it's a place where we've had very good experience. The industry there is growing very quickly, whether that's in the UAE, Dubai, Abu Dhabi, or into Saudi, which obviously is getting a lot of attention.
Yeah.
And there, it's less about M&A; it's about actually creating new businesses and launching. So basically, I spend my time between the US and the Middle East. And I occasionally sort of go home to London.
I know that historically also Tarsus had quite a bit of Latin America work as well.
Yeah. Well, at the moment, it's just purely US.
Okay.
And the Middle East.
Okay.
And when we were in Tarsus, we had a phenomenal experience in Mexico.
Yeah.
We had the number 1 business there. I had a fantastic team.
Yeah.
And also in Asia as well. We had a good business, but it's really tough actually in terms of travel and running a business. So
just in the interest of your own time and energy, you're focusing on US
and also managing investments.
Yeah.
The US is the biggest market. It's probably got the most entrepreneurs, most opportunities.
Yeah.
So that excites me.
Yeah.
And the Middle East excites me because it's new. You've got to go and create.
Right.
It's not about buying things.
That's the best thing is the position you're in now, where you're doing the things that you want to do, not the things you have to do. So.
Well, exactly. And some of the projects I've invested in are passion projects.
Yeah.
So I'm a big runner. One of the businesses, Raccoon, is a friend in the industry. He's got the running shows. He's a runner. We run together, and I bought that business 18 months ago. It had 1 run show. Now we've got 4.
Right.
So it's just, I'm very lucky that I can combine 2 passions, events and running, and that's the sort of themes that I'm in the lucky position of. I enjoy what I do, and I'm lucky I can work with people that I like, and it's all about helping them. I like to say to them, listen, they're the star in the movie. I've starred in my movie. I'm done. And if I can help them,
And now you're the director.
Well, maybe not the director, but maybe I'm in a supporting role.
Yeah. No, but it's you've already grown and scaled and launched and been through many iterations of it. So now that you're in that position of guidance and support, now you can spread your wings a little further and be
Yeah, and it's really interesting, and I've been deliberate in the projects I've chosen and working with different type of people.
Yeah.
For example, I'm involved in a business called Jacobs Media, which is it was launched by a travel entrepreneur. So he comes from the travel industry.
Okay.
Knows nothing about media.
Yeah.
15 years ago, Reed sold off all their magazines, and one of them was Travel Weekly.
Okay.
So Travel Weekly got sold to North Star here in the US, and in Europe got sold to Jacobs Media. And Clyde Jacobs basically is just over that 15-year period organically growing the business by launching events.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
he's got the magazines, and he's just launched events, and now 60% of the business is events.
Yeah.
And, I'm coming in there to basically do two really simple things, which is help them expand internationally. So we've launched 2 shows into the US.
Okay.
We've got 3 into the Middle East.
Yeah.
And then take the events that they've got and just scale them. So the guys are really good within their sector. They know the travel industry really, really well.
Yeah.
But they're just not event people.
Yeah.
And that's actually, it's nice to have these complementary skills, and actually you can add something rather than actually going to, a classic organizer and you're having a debate, they know how to run shows.
Right. And you're right. That energy that you get from the entrepreneur, that that there's so much passion involved with there, and like you can help just guide them into the right decisions on the show side, because that they're so passionate about the business already. So.
Exactly, and it's all about sort of introducing them to people and giving them ideas. It's not coming in and telling them what to do. It's actually, you look at the business going, actually, this could be quite interesting. Why don't you look at this and talk to this person and just stimulate and give them ideas?
For sure.
And it's worked really, really well.
So I know you've been coming to SISO for many years.
Yes.
What is one of the biggest value that you've seen being part of this organization that's helped you either grow or expand or just personally?
Well, I think it's been an interesting journey. I mean, I've been coming to SISO, I think, about 15 years, and for 10 of those I was on the board. And the pitch originally, I mean, it was Lou Schomer, was, this is a place where everyone gets together. If you're looking to do deals, this is a place to come. And I think that was sort of true. But I think SISO's really evolved.
Yeah.
And for me, and one of the things I'm focused on now is a small business group. And that is really the strength of SISO, is those small businesses that hopefully will learn, network around the bigger guys, and not necessarily to sell their businesses, it might be, but it's also like to learn and grow their businesses.
Yeah, for sure.
So I think, basically the networking, I've, developed relationships here, which are incredibly powerful, that you can't create anywhere else. And then, unfortunately, I became chair of SISO in March of 2020.
I remember.
And I still remember Greg Topalian, who was my predecessor, saying it's really easy. You only have to chair 3 board meetings. It doesn't take up any time. And obviously it became a full-time job. But actually what came out of that, and probably the thing I'm most proud about, was actually when it got really tough for the industry, SISO was the association in our industry that stood up and took leadership. And, was the catalyst to bring everybody together. And ultimately with Bob Priestag, actually created what's now become the legacy out of that, which is the ECA that does the industry advocacy. And I look back on that 5 years now and think, actually, I went for the legislative day in May, and I'll go again this May. And it's I stand back and go, like, it's really powerful that the industry has come together. People are there lobbying about our issues, because the big danger was we had a crisis, everybody comes together, we start getting back to normality and everyone disappears. But actually, I think 2 things have happened. One, it's got stronger. And secondly, it's drawn in a lot of other people, a lot of younger people. So it's not just like the old school people who have been around in the industry.
It's got more visibility as an industry.
And it's got an energy and it's got a dynamic, which is a powerful one. And that's all come out of SISO. it came out of a bad situation with the pandemic, but actually out of that, I think we've created something that's good and it's of long-term benefit for the industry.
For sure, definitely. Yeah, as bad as the time was, there was a lot of good that came out afterwards. And, I sometimes refer to that as the shakeout of maybe some bad actors, maybe some people who, weren't passionate about it, but the people that were passionate about it stuck around and really made something amazing afterwards. So.
Yeah, and I think also it demonstrated a lot of resilience as well. That I think there's a lot of panic, and I think after a while, people actually began to focus about having a proper strategy. That the key to opening up the industry was Las Vegas. If we could get Las Vegas open, then we could persuade other people to open. And, I think that it took a little bit of time. Everyone was finding their feet because they thought it was going to be over in a month or 2 months or by the fall. No one expected it to go on as long as it did.
Exactly, yeah. Well, thank you so much for doing this. I know we got sessions kicking back up again, so I appreciate it. Thank you, Doug.
Good to see you.